So the sudden death round of the 2018 World Championship is officially in the books, and credit to our Tuesday morning quarterback, JT Kenney. You chose one of the two guys who advanced. Going into it, you thought Andy Montgomery would have a good chance.
Absolutely.
He did well, he advanced. Also did Greg Hackney, Mike Iaconelli, and Skeet Reese. So honestly, none of those four should surprise anybody. Great fishermen no matter what.
Absolutely.
But this particular round, as you also predicted, was not very easy for these guys.
No, it's not. And like I said, Blue Cypress Lake, it's a fine lake.
Yeah.
But when you're surrounded by Stick Marsh and Garcia and all these other places, it's just, it doesn't compare to those. But the way MLF set this up, they wanted to throw in something different. You know, go to Garcia, it's awesome. Go to Stick Marsh, it's awesome. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're going to throw in a lake that's not quite as good as all the other ones. So it really throws the guys for a loop. Once again, that's the cool part of MLF though. They always keep us on our toes. And it showed, and it made for a really cool episode.
So you look at the stat line, just looking at straight black and white print, you see that Hackney, up until this round, caught all but one of his fish on a jig. This particular day, he didn't catch a single fish on a jig. So why was that the case?
Those fish in Blue Cypress are just not, they're not as aggressive, they're not as, you know, not really, and most of the time when we're throwing a jig in Florida, most of the time we're trying to resemble a bluegill more than a crawfish. You know, whether you want to call it a brim, bluegill, sunfish, whatever. That's what we're trying to mimic with that bulky skirt, the big trailer on the back, and everybody knows there's a ton of bluegill in Florida. So that's really what you're mimicking with a jig. You're not really mimicking a crawfish, what a lot of people think of a jig. So one thing about Blue Cypress, it doesn't have a lot of bluegill like a lot of the other places, so the fish aren't so keyed into that bulkier profile.
In this particular situation, this particular setup, the week that we were there in February, we're all aware how kind of fickle Florida bass can be, depending on the weather, which makes things much more difficult no matter what. In this case, the local guy, no inside knowledge, didn't help him at all. Bobby Lane did not advance.
That lake is different. It's not like a typical Florida lake. You know, that's how it is. I'm sure, you know, Bobby had probably never fished it before. Bobby's one of the best Florida fishermen there is. But that lake is kind of not like a Florida lake. You know, like I can't really think of any, I'm sure there's some smaller lakes around that are, but I can't really think of any other lake in Florida that I've fished that actually fishes like Blue Cypress. And to be honest with you, I've only been on it a few times, because when you're overshadowed by those other places that are right next door, you know what I mean? Why would you go? Other than, it would be a beautiful place to take your wife around on a tour around and look at the old Florida and what it really used to look like, because it's beautiful scenery, but the fishing's just not there.
So we're gonna now turn our attention to the championship, which is on one of the most hallowed pieces of water in the entire state of Florida, in the entire country as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for largemouth bass. We'll talk about that next week, however. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Thanks, man.